pregame.tv.
Welcome back, pregame.tv. Florida Gators against the Florida, what I was calling the Florida Gold Coast, because when they were playing Georgetown, I was going to the Gold Coast to catch an extra 1.5 on this crappy team that no one had heard of. Turns out maybe they're not so crappy. This is the game everyone is talking about. VR, you're going to be breaking it down.
Yeah, listen. What they're doing is beautiful, and it's great for college basketball, and we see it every year during March Madness. That's where the Cinderella phrase comes from. There's always that one team. But when you look at who they're playing right now, they're playing, I think, the best team in this tournament. Personally, I have a future on Florida. Yeah. Do the Gator chomp, baby. It's all over. Just size them up now for those
Couldn't ask for a better draw.
Yeah. They're cutting that net down. And here's the thing. Just look at the head coach, and Donovan against Enfield. This is his second year, Andy Enfield, that he's coaching in college basketball. Only the second year. And right now, this team is like we were talking about before we went on camera. They're enjoying all this press. They're loving it. I mean, how can you not? It's a great thing for them.
Letterman's trying to book them.
Exactly. And it's a good thing. But now, all of a sudden, it's the Sweet 16, and you're going to place Florida. And after what Florida saw happen in rounds 1 and 2, they're not going to overlook you. They're going to take you seriously. And that's a bad sign when you're playing probably the first or second best defense in all of college basketball. If you look at those first 2 games that Florida Gulf Coast played, they scored, 78 points, 81 points. They dictated the tempo. That's not going to happen against Florida. Florida is one of the slowest tempo teams in all college basketball. Ken Palm has them at 302. I do not think Donovan's going to allow Florida Gulf Coast to get out and force his club to run, even though he has the better athletes. Instead, he's going to play the game the way he wants to play it. He's going to slow it down. He's going to lock them up on defense, and this is going to be a one-sided scoring game. And you need 2 teams to score to get an over. That's what I've learned in my years of betting. Sometimes you could catch it with one team lighting it up, but more times than not, you need 2 teams to score to get an over. I think only one team's going to be doing the scoring in this one, and I like it under.
Now, let me ask you, we'll get your take on the game, Brian. This, I have to do a movie reference, all right? And so in terms of popularity, the Florida Gators have lost the popular vote here to this Florida Gulf Coast team. No doubt about it. It reminds me of the movie Revenge of the Nerds, when the frat boys lose to the geeks, and John Goodman comes out, and he meets them, they're all dressed as cheerleaders, and he says, ladies, you just got your kicked by a bunch of nerds.
Yeah.
If it was me, I would do something about it. And then they go and just trash the nerds' not dorm rooms, but their entire big house that they're living in. And I can see Florida being cool, saying the right thing, and Billy Donovan just being furious that this Enfield kid who knows nothing about basketball compared to him is getting all of this press. What do you think, Brian? Am I overreacting?
You're always overreacting, no matter what it is. I did want to point out, and I got to give Florida Gulf Coast credit. Earlier, we did a video with Miami, Florida. We talked about Miami lost earlier to Florida. We kind of made light of them. But hey, give them all the credit in the world.
Sure.
They've done a great job. In fact, you take a look at the spread numbers. Now, they're not on the board very often, but the last 3 years, 12-2 against the spread. Games they play in March, tournament games.
It's because it's the name.
It's the name.
If they had a normal. It's the Florida Gulf Coast. You're thinking what? That's what
it's the Gold Coast.
That's why they're covering. That's why they're covering. They're always getting more than they should.
Yeah, well, they're a pretty good program. Young program. But I did want to point out, 8-0 in March. So this is a team very much undervalued. There are 5 tournament games. There are conference tournament, and then here in the Big Dance. In those 5 games, they've covered the spread by combined 70.5 points. But I do want to point out, before we get all excited about them here, they did lose twice to a team that's 12-18. Lipscomb. And I did want to point out for him, Lipscomb isn't what you get when you make out with a stripper. I just wanted to point that out for you. But you talked about the Florida team here. Amazing, 62-35 in tournament games the last 15 years. That's against the spread. And you talked about their defense. They're a team that shoots 48.3% from the field on the season against teams who only allow 41.6%. So not only are they a good defensive team, they're a good shooting team. And they're playing a team, they got the better athletes in this game, as long as the style doesn't get away from them, which happened the first two games with Florida Gulf Coast. I think Florida's the right side.
Now, real quick, before we make this official, I think Florida's the right side as well. They play in the Atlantic Sun. Sounds like a casino to me.
Yeah.
A lot of it, and then Stetson, I thought I'd do a joke about strippers with Stetson that they lost to other. One thing about your total that I'm a little worried about, I want to disclose this before you go to it. I have the points scored in the 10 Florida Gold Coast losses this year, and I know they're not the Gold Coast, I just call them that. 147, 155, 147, 155, 162, 147, 160, 165, 158, 151. Every game they've lost this year, there's been 147 points. That tells me this is a team, when they get behind, they hack to the bitter end.
I think, great point, but I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to be so far behind. There's really no reason to embarrass yourself and hack. I really think Florida is just going to come out and completely shut this team down and just dominate.
Demoralize them. They just shuffle off.
Exactly.
Move on.
It was fun. Cinderella's got to go home.
Move on to Catherine Webb, and they can be on some reality TV show.
Exactly.
Let's make it official.
Worst case scenario for Florida Gulf Coast is having to face Florida right now. Like Steve said, I don't think Donovan's going to be too happy he's not getting the attention. He's the kind of coach that loves it, and him not getting it, he's going to have his team ready. This is one of the best defenses in all college basketball, one of the best offenses in all college basketball. I think we have the makings of a one-sided game. That's the reason I like this one under. And when you look at the points that both teams scored in rounds 1 and 2, that's why I think we got an inflated number here. So go ahead, bet the game under, and take Florida with it.
Very good. Well, I'm looking forward to it in Cowboy Stadium. It'll be interesting to see if they do hang in there, if the crowd goes ahead and gets behind this Florida Gulf Coast. I think it's going to be real quiet when this game gets out of hand.
I agree.
38,000 people wondering what they're going to do.
And Florida's a mature team. I mean, this is a team with 0 sophomores and only 1 freshman. It's all upperclassmen.
Very, very good. So we talked about the team that VR says is the best team in the country, Florida. I think that they're the 3rd best team. I'm going to put Indiana number 2. We're going to talk about the team I think is the best team. That's Louisville. Come back. I'll be breaking down with a free play Louisville, Oregon State with this pregame.tv.
I have them meeting in the championship.